Hey, y'all, you're listening to episode 300 of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast.
Welcome to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now, we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Super excited to be with you this week for episode 300 of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It's just me and Jocelyn today for episode 300. And if you're wondering what we're going to talk about on today's podcast, on this milestone episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, episode 300, if you're wondering that, good, because so are we. We have no plan. We're going into this like we tried to come up with some stuff and we just couldn't think of anything or figure it out.
Yeah, we had all kinds of ideas of things that we wanted to do. We've been talking about it forever. And a couple of days ago, our assistant emails us and she's like, hey guys, just wondering if you have anything for episode 300, when in the back of her mind, I know she's thinking, this episode is supposed to come out next week. Get this done.
We're batched ahead on all of our interviews before and after it, but you guys have not recorded episode 300. And we started talking about it a little bit and we're like, why can we not think about this? Why can we not figure it out? Maybe we should have a guest on. Maybe we shouldn't have a guest on. Maybe we should talk about X. Maybe we should talk about Y. Maybe we should talk about Z. And we just could not come up with any topic. So what we decided to do for episode 300 is, one, explore a little bit why we couldn't figure out what we wanted to talk about. Two, talk about some of the projects and things that we're doing right now and how that's going to impact what Flipped Lifestyle looks like in the future. And then we're actually going to go through the same questions. We're going to interview each other a little bit and talk about those internal fears that are holding us back, those external obstacles that are getting in our way. And we're going to talk about our biggest business questions that we have for growing and scaling our business, because we are not immune to fear. We are not immune to the obstacles, and we are definitely not immune to all the questions that rise up. And we find ourselves right now in kind of a weird limbo in our business, right? Like we've got this huge live event coming up, Flip Your Life Live. It's happening September 19th through the 21st. We've got new projects that we've started. We recently acquired back some ownership in another company that we owned. And, so we're going to be able to grow that thing and make it more profitable now. And we just got a lot going on, and it's kind of left us in this weird paralyzed place. Have you ever felt that way in your business? Have you ever felt like, there were things happening and you felt busy and you felt like things were going on? You had a lot of ideas, but you were just kind of stuck or plateaued. And that's kind of where we feel right now, like emotionally, mentally, and everything about our business.
Yeah, we thought we would just give you a little bit of insight into what we're thinking, what we're working on, because we really haven't done that, I guess, in a while. And I was just thinking today that in August, this is going to be 5 years of this podcast, which is
unbelievable,
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So we've come kind of a long way, but of course, there's a lot of things that we still want to do and a lot of places we still want to go. So we're just going to kind of explore that a little bit and just give you guys a little bit of an insight into what we're thinking.
All right. So the first thing we want to talk about is Flip Your Life Live. And yes, we want you to come to Flip Your Life Live. It's in the teens, however many tickets are left right now. I'm not exactly sure what the count is. We've not met with our live event coordinator in a couple weeks, but we've only got a few tickets left, and we really want you to come to Flip Your Life Live. It's September 19th through the 21st. It's in Lexington, Kentucky, and it's going to be an amazing event where 100 entrepreneurs from all over the world are going to come together and work for a couple days to build and grow our businesses. And we are, we've mentioned this on the podcast a couple times, but we want to explore it a little bit. We are not doing Flip Your Life Live in the big conference style event that we've done for the past couple years anymore. There will not be a Flip Your Life Live in 2020 or 21.
And we've had a couple of questions about this. I've had a couple of personal friends message me and they're like, is everything okay? Why aren't you having an event? And yes, everything is fine. It has nothing to do with any type of crisis or anything like that. It's just that this event, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of bandwidth that's taking away from other things that we do.
Yeah. And we as we explored, our first initial idea for Flip Your Life Live was, let's create a family reunion for the Flip Your Life community, for our Flipped Lifestyle podcast audience. Let's create an event, a place where people can go and they don't have to worry about constantly getting pitched every hour on the hour. They don't have to worry about hearing a bunch of speakers talk about the crust of whatever they do and then sell them the rest of it. Let's create an event where people come and learn real deep content. Let's create an event where people have time to work on that content together and individually at the event. And then let's create it where it's a Q&A with S&J every hour on the hour. You can ask questions about everything that we talk about. And we wanted to make it a catalyst for people on their calendar where they're like, I've got to get stuff done before Flip Your Life Live. And when I leave Flip Your Life Live, I'm going to be super hyper crazy excited and make massive strides to make progress in my business. And we did that. Last year's event was incredible. This year's event has been awesome. We've done live trainings every week for our attendees, and everything is just really like coming to a head. But Flip Your Life Live had an unexpected consequence or two. One, it sucked up all of our bandwidth. I mean, from January 1st until September 19th, every day, almost always, every morning, we get up and we look at each other and we're thinking about Flip Your Life Live. We're planning meals with our person. We're planning content. We're talking to people in the Flip Your Life Live Facebook group, where we're just constantly thinking about the marketing and the sales and how to, get people to come to Flip Your Life Live. And we just did not expect it to take up so much bandwidth. Even the stuff we've outsourced, like our live event coordinator handles all the, meals and planning what people are going to eat and all the logistics in the hotel, but you're still thinking about it. You just can't put it up because it's such a big deal and it's such a big event and people are coming and you want to put on such a good show that it actually pulled us out of the Flip Your Life community. It pulled us away from our Q&As. It pulled us away from our Flip Your Life community forums a little bit, and it actually impacted the reach that we could have. It even pulled us away a little bit from podcasting. We've used to be 12, 13 weeks ahead on our podcast, and now we're only staying about 3 or 4 weeks ahead because instead of a podcast, we have to record a meeting about Flip Your Life Live, or we have to talk to each other about something that's going on with the event. Instead of going on other people's podcasts, we used to do interviews all the time. We've done dozens and dozens of interviews in magazines and on other people's podcasts, and those were really good to spread our message and get our word out there. But we've not been able to do that for 2 years because we don't have time to do that. So Flip Your Life Live was an amazing event, and it is going to be an amazing event this year. And we kind of looked at ourselves last year when we were getting ready to walk on stage and said, did we really do this? Did this really happen? Did we really pull this off? Like, how did a couple people from Kentucky who started a podcast 4 or 5 years ago, get 100 people to fly in from the world to change their family's future? And it was awesome, but it's just really kind of holding back our business right now and other things that we want to do. So we decided, hey, let's blow this one out. Let's make this one bigger, double what it was last year. Awesome. And then we're going to go in another direction.
So for me, the event is amazing. I mean, it was my idea to begin with. I had gone to another event that was sort of similar to this, and I thought it was really cool. And I thought, wow, it would be awesome to bring our people together. But what I really didn't anticipate was, first of all, the massive expense that it takes to put on a live event. There are, of course, benefits to doing that, and there are drawbacks to that. I've mentioned it before that we pretty much make zero profit on the event, which means that we do all this work and we don't make any money. And of course, it's not all about the money, but it's hard to put so much time and effort into something that you're getting no financial return on. Now, are we getting other types of return? Yes. There have been people who have done really amazing things leading up to the event, following the event. I'm not saying that it wasn't worth it, but it's just been really difficult for us, like trying to sell this thing, trying to coordinate everything, and, just keeping those wheels in motion all the time.
Yeah, and we are a profit-first company. Like, Jocelyn and I don't do anything unless it is going to be profitable. And it's not just, when you hear the word profit, it's not just like, oh, we made more than we spent. Like, that's not what profit is. You have to also take into account opportunity costs, right? Like every time I'm doing a Flip Your Life Live training, which I love to do, that's my energy. I love it every week. It gets me hype. Jocelyn doesn't come around me for like 3 or 4 hours because I'm like a nuclear bomb generating heat after I get off the mic, talking to our Flip Your Life Live attendees. But that could be a webinar where we could put another 100 people in the Flip Your Life community, right? That could be a coaching call where I could help one of our Flip Your Life community members go to the next level one-on-one. So there's a lot of other things that we think we could do with our time that would make a bigger impact on more people, and it would actually make more money and put more money in our pocket, which is what business is all about.
Does that mean that we are never doing a live event again? Not necessarily. We will probably not do the large scale one for quite some time, maybe ever. We are not really, we don't like to make promises or like bold statements like we will never ever do this event again.
Never say never. But for right now, it is definitely not on our mind. It is not in our plans for next year, the year after, or on the horizon. And we've started thinking about some other things that we could do. Jocelyn and I used to go around the country. We've been to Chicago, San Diego, Tampa, and we've had small mastermind style live events where we have maybe 15 to 20 people in a room, and we just really get into the weeds with them about their business. Those were really, really successful, much more profitable than the big live event, and we got a lot of great results out of them too.
Another thing that we have considered and that I'm actually really excited about is a destination style event. So what I mean by that is maybe we would go to an all-inclusive resort where there will be childcare and, everybody can just hang out together, and we would do it more like a vacation and also a mastermind event. So one of the things that I wanted to do with our podcast listeners is I would like for you guys to fill out a little survey. So if you're a listener and you would like to share your thoughts on what we're doing or what we might be doing, we put together a little survey over at fliplifestyle.com/survey. And we would love for you to answer a few questions and just tell us some feedback about some of the things that we talk about. Are you interested in a smaller type mastermind event? Are you interested in a destination type of live event? And that would just help us as we sort of make plans for the future.
And the reason we came up with those two options as some kind of, live event thing, because live events are one of our big core beliefs. Like we are going to a live event. Actually, as we're recording this, we are getting ready to fly to San Diego in a couple days. And we are going to be appearing on stage with Pat Flynn at his first live event, FlynnCon. And we're going to be going to that event. It's going to be an amazing event. We can't wait to do it. By the time you heard this, we've already done it. So you could probably go to YouTube or Twitter or somewhere and you could find video of the event and us and what we did. But live events are really important to us. We believe in live events. We go to live events and we want to host some kind of live event. But we started looking at some of the problems or objections or the things that made a huge conference hard for our people. And two of the biggest objections were, number one, traveling to the live event, right? It's a big deal to go to a live event. But that's part of the reason why you take so much action before and after a live event is because you've invested so much time and money to get there. So you want to get your ROI, right? So, but getting to the event was hard for people. And so we said, hey, we need to maybe go back, or we can go to them. If we did 2 or 3 smaller masterminds, we could probably reach as many people as our big live event, and we could do it. We could actually come to them. So, if we come to your town, it's a lot easier to attend a mastermind or a live event than it is to go all the way across the country to a big thing. The second biggest reason was I can't leave my family. I can't leave my kids. I can't find a babysitter. I can't find anything else. And so we said, hey, a destination live event, if you go to an all-inclusive in Mexico, they're one, half the price of any hotel in, America. 2, they've got kids clubs. They've got childcare. If we all go on a Disney cruise, right, or a Royal Caribbean cruise or a Carnival cruise or something, they all have kids clubs. They've got childcare. So you can get away to mastermind. You can get away and have dinner together, and you can do those things. So a part of this was, yes, it was taking away from our business. But a part of it too was, hey, I think we could serve our community better if we would do some kind of different live component. Still give people the destination, still give people the day on their calendar, but solve some of these problems for people and that will allow them to actually attend. So the next thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about was the Flip Your Life community. That's our community where, we set up this community. I don't think did we set up the community right away? We had like a course or something when we started out.
Yeah, so the podcast has been on since 2014, and we started the community in 2015.
That's right. So we had some training and stuff, and we had a couple beta groups, and then we went to a life-changing live event. And we met an expert named James Schramko who talked to us about recurring revenue, a lot about recurring revenue. And he was really into the big ticket, high ticket coaching stuff. And we kind of applied what we talked to him about at that live event to our own brand and said, hey, well, let's create a membership for the masses. Let's create a place where anybody can go. Some people can't afford to go out and pay $5,000, every, 6 months for coaching. Let's create a place where people can have an affordable monthly rate. They can go in and get all the training they need to start, build, and grow their own online business. We can fill up, a forum and surround people with a community of family-focused entrepreneurs from all over the world. And we can be in there and we can actually create leadership opportunities for us. We can answer forum posts. We can do Q&As with our members. And that's what we did, and we started the Flip Your Life community. It continues to grow. It continues to amaze us every single day. It's incredible when we log in and see all the success stories. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts in our success story forum. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions that have been answered over the years in the Flip Your Life community, and we just see so much growth. We were just on a member call about 2 weeks ago, and one of our longtime members, her name's Kathy, she was talking about how she had finally gotten some traction and she got 15 people to join her membership in 1 month. And the crazy thing was, it was like the worst month of the year in her niche to get members. And we have been working with Kathy. Kathy came to Flip Your Life Live last year. She's been a long-time listener of the podcast, long-time member. And I'm just giving her a shout out right now because Kathy, when you hear this, we're so proud of you for sticking with it. And to see her after a couple years of grinding and striving and getting that first sale, but not being able to get traction, and all of a sudden, bam, getting those 15 members in 1 month and just building that foundation. Like crazy stuff like that happens all the time in the community. And that's just our favorite place in the world because we are so proud of all the people that are in there taking massive action and changing their lives. And it's really fulfilling to see, hey, we do this podcast every week. You hear us help someone one-on-one, and then people come and join the community. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I loved our last member call because we actually had more success stories than questions. That's the first time I think that's ever happened, and it was really cool because people are actually taking action and making things happen in the community, which makes me so happy.
Yeah, so the Flip Your Life community is going really, really strong. We always like to kind of do like a State of the Union on episode 100, 200, 300. And, we just want to reaffirm our commitment to the Flip Your Life community. Our commitment to family-focused entrepreneurs. We're not out here with massive egos and narcissism and our Ferraris and our Lamborghinis. We know that this community is a bunch of people who love their families and want to have a better future for their kids. They want to get out of the grind. They want to create a side hustle. They want to do something with their life that's more than what they're doing now. And, we love the Flip Your Life community, and it's going to be there and going strong for a long, long time. All right, so the next thing I really want to talk about before we get into our question session, where Jocelyn and I are going to interview each other like we do our guests every single Tuesday, is my new project. It's called Prolific Monthly. It's a newsletter. It's a literal paper newsletter. You get this, it's like a top secret document that you get in the mail. It's 15 to 20 pages. I've had an idea for a hand-delivered physical product, a paper newsletter, for a couple years now, and I've just never really got around to messing with it. One, because we've been so preoccupied for 2 years now with Flip Your Life Live. And once we decided not to do that, it was like all of the ideas gushed out of my head that I've been putting on the back burner that Flip Your Life Live has prevented me from thinking about.
Yeah, they gushed out of your head, out of your mouth, and into my brain. I mean, it was literally like a fire hose of information just hitting me at all times. And I'm like, bro, I cannot process all this. You're going to have to slow down a little bit.
Make a list, dude. Make a list.
And so one day I got an email, and you guys probably got this too, about this newsletter, how many people would be interested in this. So before the email goes out, he sends me a text, and he's like, hey, I'm getting ready to send an email. Don't freak out. I'm not doing anything. I'm like, all right.
Because Jocelyn really doesn't like it when I just start random projects, and because she knows I'm kind of all in. So we kind of have this, because she always tells me, when you tell me about things, it scares me because I know you're going to go do the thing. So he kind of created this like, it was kind of like boundary system. Like, okay, I have to like preface every new idea with, okay, I'm not thinking about doing this right now, but hear me out.
So all it took was about, I don't know, a couple dozen of you guys to write him back and say, hey, this sounds like a great idea. And the next thing you know, so I figured this out the other day.
Remember, the text said, I'm not doing this right now. This is for later. I'm just conducting a little interest survey to see if anybody in the audience would like it.
So like a good wife, I smile and nod. Well, the other day we were on our member call and this hit me like a ton of bricks. So the next day, Shane tells me, hey, let's go over to this restaurant that you really like in the next town over. I'm like, okay.
Like she was like, that's a great idea. We've not, it's called Compadres. And it's like this little, it's like a home mom and pop Chipotle. And it's like
really good.
Really good. Like super delicious.
Best tacos ever.
So shameless plug for Compadres.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, yeah, I love tacos. I'll go. So we head over there and it just so happens that there's a print shop on the way to the restaurant.
No, it wasn't on the way to the restaurant. So we go to this, you can see my master plan what's happening here, guys. So we went to the tacos. We ate tacos. I didn't say anything about business. Didn't talk about anything in business at all. And I was like, we need to go to Starbucks. So I drove around town, got me a coffee, and I went to Starbucks so that I would have to redirect back by the print shop to get back to the road, back to our hometown. And I'm like, hey, there's the print shop. You know what? Remember that idea I had the other day about the prolific?
I'm just going to go see if they can do it.
I'm just going to go see if it's even possible. So how long was I in there when you first started like thinking, he's up to something here?
Oh, I mean, it was like, you were in there at least 30 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I didn't go in. I'm just like sitting there thinking, he's just talking to this guy, whatever. So the next thing you know, he comes out like all excited. And at that point, I knew that it was happening.
Yeah, right. So but I did not sign any papers. I did not do anything. I would never actually go through with something until you actually give me your signature of approval. But we were on the so I go home and I'm like, and I was telling Jocelyn like how much it was going to cost. I was showing her the profit margins and I was like telling her like my ideas on how this could really help people, because the point of the prolific monthly newsletter is to help people be more prolific in promotion, because I'm a big huge believer that, you have to be consistent, prolific, and relentless. You got to consistently create content. You have to prolifically promote your content, right? People get that backwards. You don't have to prolifically create content, guys. You have to consistently create content once a week, twice a week, but then you have to prolifically promote your content every single day to get traction, to get followers, to make sales. And then you have to relentlessly sell things. You got to be up front and say, I have products. They cost money. You should buy them, right? Those are my three like core philosophies in business and life. Be consistent, be prolific, be relentless, right? So Prolific Monthly, what I wanted to do was I wanted to send people a calendar. Like, so, on the 28th of the month, before the 1st of the next month, you get in your hands a calendar that literally tells you what to do every day. It talks about what's on your avatar's mind. It talks about what's on, in popular culture happening. It talks about what you should do every day. You should do this sale this week. You should do this promotion this week. You should send these emails this week. And I wanted to put this thing together and then have articles in it like, this is what you should do in August of 2019. This is what you should do in September of 2019. This is how you prolifically promote your brand and grow your sales and change your life. So I was really fired up about this magazine. I came home and I was like, look, Jocelyn, it costs this. I've already got it written. I'd already created some of the stuff for it. And I told her about what was going to be inside. And I convinced her to write an article. Jocelyn's like the back page article. She's like the closing art thing. So I got her to write an article for it. And I talked to her. I said, hey, let me do this. Let's do this. So I talked her into it. But then we're on the member call. And someone was asking about it, and I look over at Jocelyn, and she's got her mouth is open like 3 inches, and her eyes are like looking at me like, oh my gosh, you tricked me. Like, she was like, I just figured it out.
I know.
You took me for tacos to soften me up to launch this new business.
Yes, that so happened. And I can't believe it took me that long to figure it out. Usually I can figure stuff like that out quicker, but
yeah. Anyway, like just one more story about this. So I go and launch it I talked her into it on a Monday. Now remember, we've not actually created this thing. We just got quotes and everything else and some interest from some surveys. I send out an email on Tuesday. Over the next 3 days, I get sales. So I set up a beta. My beta exceeds the actual amount that I thought I could get. And I looked over at Jocelyn and I said, well, I guess we better write this thing. And I go out and on Friday and Saturday, we create the newsletter. We edit it. We go through it. We put it together. Super proud of how it came out. It was absolutely incredible. I'm so pumped. And then the next Monday, 1 week later, I emailed the files to the printer and he sent them out. And actually, anyone listening right now, you should be getting your copy of Prolific Monthly in the mail this week. So it's going to be absolutely awesome. And it was just a fun experience to launch a product. But the moral of that story is the second we removed something from our slate, Flip Your Life Live, it freed up all this bandwidth to come up with ideas that were, very profitable, very helpful for our community and our audience and our listenership. And it was just an awesome thing. So if you'd like to check it out, go to prolificmonthly.com, PROLIFICMONTHOY, Prolific Monthly. You can check out the newsletter. You can sign up. We go to print again on the 20th of August, and you can get your copy for September. But that's my new project. I'm really super excited about that. And I invented it and created it in like a week.
And one more lesson about that. If you're going to send a physical product, make sure you get a mailing address.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Here's a great mistake for you guys. So I was in such a hurry to get this thing to market after the survey showed so much interest that I went into Kajabi. If you have not checked out Kajabi, it's an awesome platform. And I was like, I'm going to try a new software tool because I want to learn a new platform. So I went into Kajabi. I set up a sales page and an order form, and I sent it out to the list to start taking beta members. And about 2 days in, I was like, man, sales are great. Beta's going to sell out. This is better than I thought it could go. And I looked down and I was like, why do I only have this person's name and email address? I looked at the form and I forgot to get a shipping address because we've never needed really shipping addresses before for anything. And I did not put shipping addresses. So I had to manually go back and find all these people and put their addresses back in. And I learned the lesson that I should have probably learned over the last 20 years. Always let Jocelyn check my work, because Jocelyn would not have let that go out without that, right?
Absolutely not.
All right. So on that note, okay, so that's kind of what's going on with Flip Your Life Live. Still, again, love to have you there, fliplifestyle.com/live. And check out my new newsletter, Prolific Monthly, if you're having trouble advertising and promoting your brand. But we're going to go into a little question answer here. We're going to take each other kind of through the things that are kind of holding us back right now. Because even though we've got a lot going on, even though we're getting our bandwidth back, we still feel kind of stuck in our business. We've reached a weird plateau in our business. We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of things happening. There's a lot of good going on in our life. Like we see it all around us, but like we feel stuck. Like we don't really like have a plan for the future. Like we don't really know what the next level is. We've said this before on the podcast, but like it's really easy to see the future when you're in that 9 to 5. Like, you want to quit your job, right? You want to go out there and scale and make more money than you're making now at your 9 to 5, right? You want to spend more time with your kids. But now we're kind of like, what happens next? Like, what's the next part? We've built this business that's impacting hundreds of lives all over the world. Like, what does the next level look like? And as we've wrestled with that this summer, especially, we've been stuck. Like, we've been totally stuck. We've had trouble setting goals. We've had trouble figuring out like how to grow things. And we've kind of like looked at each other and been in this, like, what would you call it? It's almost just like a station, what's it called? Like a stationary orbit. We're just kind of circling the earth, doing our thing, but we don't really know what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah, it's been a kind of unusual last couple years, but I mean, even like the last little bit, we have our community, which is awesome, and we definitely have ideas of ways that we want to grow, but there have been a few things like the live event and some other things that we'll get into in just a little bit, but, it's just made it more difficult for us to figure out what we're doing. And I think part of it is because when we started, our kids were super young. Our son Isaac was 3 and our daughter was 18 months old. Their lives obviously were a lot different at that time because they were babies and they didn't have anything to do after school and they didn't go to school. And because our kids are now growing up, Isaac's 10 and Anna's 8, they are involved in more things and their lives are getting more complicated, which makes our lives more complicated. We're starting to wrestle with things like how much screen time is appropriate, how much exercise do they need, all these types of things.
What friends should they be hanging out with? And we're having to manage their relationships while we manage our relationship, while we literally interact with. I can't tell you guys how many people we interact with a day through our forums, in our private coaching program, online. We get emails all the time, social media posts. We probably interact with 100 to 200 people a day. And, we're still trying to sort out, we have a marriage that we have to work on, and we have kids, and, they have problems. Isaac has had a lot of anxiety in the last year or two. He's had a lot of things that we've had to wrestle with and look at that and be we don't know how to deal with this. So we've talked to counselors. We go to counseling with Isaac and we talk about his problems. We talk about our problems, and we talk about all the things that we have in our life. So, we're dealing with all the life stuff. I don't want you guys to ever look at our Instagram and think it's perfect. Right? We talk about that all the time. We actually have a joke that the more perfect someone's Instagram is, the more likely they probably are to be getting divorced. So we look at each other and we're we have all these things that we have to deal with and we have to struggle with. We're together all the time. Jocelyn and I wrestle with that. We work together. We hang out together. We have parenting together. We have our marriage. There's so many things that are going on. Life is just really, really complicated now.
And if you, like us, are raising kids right now in this time, there is no owner's manual for this time. When our parents were raising us, all this technology wasn't available.
There was no internet. There was no cyberbullying.
And there's really nowhere for us to go for support. We're having to figure this out in real time and figure out what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. How do we control this? There's just so many things going on in our heads. And that mental stress has been really tough for me. So let's kind of get into that just a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about, we always ask people on the show, what are some internal fears or obstacles that are holding you back?
I think the biggest internal fear or struggle that I'm having right now is definitely comparison syndrome. They say comparison is the thief of joy. And as we've gotten around more successful people, and, I'm in a really good mastermind right now with a lot of really great guys that are doing really cool things in their businesses. We see, as we compete for those top spots in the podcast rankings, we see other people who are our peers who kind of came up with us, who are ahead of us. And there's a lot of competitiveness in this space, a lot of ego in this space. And I really find myself down in the dumps sometimes, comparing myself to other people and saying, well, why aren't our podcast is better than that? Why don't we get more downloads? And why don't we get more shares? And what are we doing wrong? And I just really struggle a lot with comparing myself to people, almost where it's oppressive. I feel bad about myself because we don't do something someone else does, or I see someone who's doing other things. And, I know deep down, logically, that person is giving up something to get more results in a certain area, whether it's more money in ads, whether it's time with their family, whether it's something else. I know there's something that I don't know the whole story, but comparison really is the thing I'm struggling with, I think, the most in our business right now. And it gets me down. I get depressed sometimes. I get, and I feel sometimes nothing I do is good enough in our business, or all the efforts that we take should have put us at the top of the mountain and top of the rankings and the top of the search results, but it just doesn't. And that really, really gets me down sometimes.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy because I think it's a man thing. I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I think it's because you're just in a mastermind with men, and I think men are just kind of naturally competitive in that way. You just want to be the top dog or whatever.
Right.
I don't know, because I don't really deal with that a lot. I don't really look at a lot of competition, I guess. I do a little bit, I'll scroll through Instagram or whatever, and I might see a few things here and there, but I try to shield myself from some of the comparison because I don't want to go to that place. So maybe that's part of it.
A part of me likes being pushed, and then a part of me, thinks about the Bible, and it's run your own race, right? Every runner runs the race to win it, but what race are you really running? And I read a great devotional about this probably about 2 weeks ago that really helped, and it was talking about, hey, it's not about running someone else's race, and you should live your life cheering other people on in their race. Like when you see someone else doing something good, you should cheer them on, and then you run your race. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? Like, where is your finish line? Like, that's what you're running to. So, but it's so easy to say that out loud, and it's so easy to read that in a devotional. It's just really hard to apply it. And I can definitely think of probably, a couple days a month over the last year where that has derailed me. It's knocked me out. It's, I find it happens most when something good happens. For example, last week we launched Prolific Monthly, and I was on a high when we got it done. It's when I emailed the files in, and then I looked out and I thought about what other people were doing and other people this, and like I got kind of down yesterday. It was like a crash almost from the high of launching the product, and I think that was just that comparison thing creeping back in. So that's been my biggest like internal fear or struggle lately, and it's something I'm going to have to work on right now. What's yours? What's the biggest fear or mindset issue that's holding you back right now?
Well, mine is definitely a mindset thing in general. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast in past episodes, but I haven't really delved into it too much. So I want to talk a little bit about my mental health. So I've had kind of a rough time for a couple years now. And actually, it's funny because some people have noticed this. I've even gotten some messages about it. People just concerned. And, I appreciate all of those.
People like from the podcast and stuff?
Mm-hmm,
like they could hear a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And for a long time, I couldn't even listen to our podcast because I sounded just so bad. And I didn't really realize how bad it had gotten. But I went down to Mexico this past March with some friends and some business people that I mastermind with. And, we were talking one night and all of this stuff just kind of came spilling out. And I realized how bad this really was. And I've been doing some different things to try to improve. I've always had a lot of anxiety, but I just started really struggling with it, and I just couldn't even really do anything. I couldn't do work. I couldn't do anything. I was just paralyzed, I guess. And, poor Shane, he's been shouldering so much of the burden of the business and everything else because I just couldn't do it. I just reached a place where it was just getting even a little bit scary. So the good news is I have gone somewhere and I'm getting help from a professional. I have started some medication, which has helped me immensely. And I feel like I'm on the right track to getting better and getting more involved in the business and pushing things forward. So that is definitely a good thing. So I think that for me has been the hardest thing. And then on top of that, this last December, a lot of you guys have listened to the podcast about where we decided to take our kids out to homeschool them. And I was already not doing well, but I knew it was something that Shane really wanted. So I decided to tough it out and try to do it anyway. And it was just not a good thing for me, especially at this time. I love my kids, but just having the mental health issues and bringing them home all at the same time was not great for me.
Yeah. And we're actually sending our kids back to school. We did our best. We gave it a shot. No regrets. But, for right now in our life, with our business, with our community, with each other and our individual health, we just said, hey, let's go back to school. Let's get the kids back where they're going every day. Let's get on a consistent schedule and let's try to sort this stuff out. And it's funny because watching this happen over the last couple of years, a lot of things changed in our life. We sold a business. That was a huge transition for us when we sold elementarylibrarian.com. I think that was one of the things where I remember you kind of turning the corner into a different space, right, in your head.
Well, it was almost like a death for me. That was my baby. It was something that I had grown from the ground up, and it went to someone else. And I realized through this process that I can't even go to the website anymore. And I've unfollowed everything on social media. I just can't bear to look at it. And I think that was a part of it. I think there were a lot of other things that contributed to this anxiety and even some depression along the way. But like I said, I'm on a good road now. I hope that we're able to move forward and, things just continue to look up.
And it's funny because just always remember, we fully recognize that we are very blessed. We have had good fortune. We have put ourselves in the right place at the right time. But while we were in those right places, we made great contacts. We met the right people that helped us do the right things. And we are fully aware that we live a very blessed life. Like, we've got a dream house and a dream property. All of our needs are met. We have a great life. But mental health, what I've learned, mental health can creep in, guys, at any time. Like, it can come in and it can attack you. It can attack your family. And whether it's spiritual, mental, physical, whatever it is, like, you can be living your best life and still inside your head be struggling. And, you know, I remember the conversation I had with Jocelyn about counseling. And I said, you got to talk to somebody. Like, we've got to talk to somebody about this. And then Jocelyn had to talk to me about, like, hey, maybe medicine will help me a little bit, because I'm kind of scared of medicine a little bit. That's probably a weakness of mine, is I'm not real big on taking the medicine, or maybe it's a fear because I don't understand it. But, you know, we've had these conversations, and through counseling, through the medication, through, you know, working through this, like, I can see a dramatic improvement in the last 2 or 3 months. It's incredible. It makes me happy because you're happy. So don't listen to all these entrepreneur gurus who are like, tough it out, work 90 hours, suck it up, you know, be an individual, be tough, you know, like, you got to get help when you need help. And you might need help at the bottom of your journey when nothing's going right, and you may need help at the top of your journey when everything from the outside is going perfect.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I'm an expert at burying this deep down, and I've been doing it for years, and it took me a long time to get anyone to take me seriously. I had gone to a couple of different people, and they're like, oh, you know, you seem fine, like, you don't seem depressed.
Everything in your life is perfect.
Oh,
you're getting your work done, you're doing this, you're doing that. A lot of people listen to you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, apparently I'm fine. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And, you know, I did do things to try to get better. I did an online counseling thing for a while. I tried massage. I tried physical therapy because I was having some issues with my neck, because I was holding that tension and anxiety in my neck, in my upper back. I tried that. I tried something called dry needling. I mean, I did all the work. I did all the things to try to get better. I did meditation, which I still do now. And, you know, it might have improved some, but I think I was just so far into that spiral, I just couldn't come out on my own. It sort of feels like you're drowning, and like just your nose and mouth are above the water. So you can breathe, but you can't do much else. And that's pretty much how I felt for a long time. So I would just encourage you, if you're feeling that way, like, go and get some help. Find someone who actually believes you, especially if you're good at hiding things. You know, my psychiatrist that I go to, she said, really, most people who are in your situation, like, they wouldn't even be able to function. And, you know, I was able to function, and, you know, fairly well in some circumstances, not all. And I think that that's deceiving to people. You know, they think, well, if you can do well in this area, then you're totally fine, when I definitely wasn't totally fine. So anyway, I've been working with this particular person since March, and I have seen a very drastic improvement, which is very good. So anyway, if you're struggling, I encourage you to get some help.
There's online counseling. There's people in your community. If you got to drive, we drive an hour and a half to get to the person that Jocelyn works with now. So, you know, we drive 30 minutes to go get some counseling with Isaac. I like to help him with his anxiety that he's experiencing. Like, wherever you got to go, don't let your success trick you into thinking you've got this. And if it's holding you back from success, take care of that first.
All right. What else do you feel like is holding you back right now as far as the business goes?
I think probably the biggest business thing that I'm struggling with right now is really building a team and becoming like a true CEO, right? Like, Jocelyn and I really value our time, our freedom, and I think sometimes that makes us a little scared of leadership, which is hilarious because we have this community of hundreds of people that we lead, and we have this podcast listenership in the thousands. Like, I was reading the other day that like only 18% of podcasts actually have recorded like an episode in like the last 3 months. So I'm like, okay, we're already in that 18%. And then I look and we're always in like the top 20 of business and marketing. So like, we're like probably one of like a bigger podcast in business and marketing. We're not the biggest, but we're definitely up there. And it like makes me laugh when I'm like, man, I struggle with leading and growing our team. Like, we can grow our audience, we can grow our community, but like, we don't really like grow our team. Jocelyn and I have been burned on employees in the last couple of years. A number of times we've made bad hires. We've struggled to get through those bad hires, to fire those bad hires, and to do different things. And, we've always really resisted hiring people, especially full-time people. I feel like for the first time right now, we were up to like 14 people working with us, and now we're down to probably like 6, like counting a couple contractors. But I'm really super happy with the people that we have now. I see the difference in what paying people and hiring really good employees makes a difference. Like, our executive assistant is incredible. Our personal assistant is incredible. Our editor is awesome. And we've got a couple really good contractors. Like, for the first time, I feel like we hired a contractor for our Infusionsoft account who's really super attentive and does a really good job and always gets things right the first time. And we've just seen a difference that hiring can make lately. And I was at a mastermind retreat with my mastermind. We drove down to Nashville for a couple of days, and we all met together. We rented an Airbnb and we stayed, and we just put it out there. Like, what's the big thing like holding? What do you guys see that's holding us back? And without question, like, every man at the table said, it's your team. Like, you guys won't hire. You're trying to do everything by yourself again, and you're really taking this all upon yourself. And and you have this fear of like growing your team because it will make your job different, right? Like, I know it won't just be us on the mic and just us leading cool courses and just us helping people in our forums or at our Q&As. It'll be, okay, we've got to manage this team. We got to have a meeting on Mondays, and we got to say, hey, you do this, you do this. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of sales. You're in charge of customer retention. You're in charge of X. You're in charge of Y. You're in charge of Z. And like, there's going to be a different vibe there. But I also know that we have a mission to grow our business to a point where we can reach as many people as possible. And it is not going to be possible to go to the next level without a true team, full-time employees, benefits, like running an actual bigger type corporation. And I know that's really on my mind right now from a business perspective, and I've got to learn how to hire better. I've got to learn how to fire faster. I've got to learn what people need to do their job correctly. We've got to be able to sacrifice something to hire these people, income and things like that. And, I know hiring at a high level is where we're going to go. So I've been reading a lot of books. I've been getting up every morning and reading 3 devotionals on leadership. I've got this one called, it's like the Maxwell Daily Promises or something like that. And it's a Bible devotional based for leaders. And then I've got another one called Jesus CEO. I've been reading a chapter of that every morning. And I've got another one, called Make It Better or something like that, where it's like daily devotionals about just like mindset, right? So I've been pouring leadership teachings into my brain. I've been reading this amazing book called Who. I think it's by, is his name Jeff Smart or Jeffrey Smart?
I'm not really sure.
It's Smart is his last name, but it's called Who, WHO, and it's all about creating amazing job descriptions and figuring out what you want and who's going to lead your team, and putting all that together, because we've kind of started moving toward, hey, we're going to figure this out on how to hire. We're going to slow down, become great leaders, and maybe start hiring people next year. So I know that the scariest thing on my plate, Jocelyn, is hiring people, because we're talking real salaries, not freelancers, not contractors, people that work for us, that we're responsible for them and their family, and they are responsible to go to bed at night thinking about flipped lifestyle and how we can reach more families like you guys who are listening, and convince you to take the leap and start and grow an online business and stick with it until the end. So that's the big thing, I guess, for me, is just like, it's time to grow up and become like a CEO. And that's kind of terrifying because I don't really want to grow up. So
yeah, it's definitely scary for me. I don't know. It's just a new level, I guess. For me, there are several things that are holding me back right now, but I think that one of them is a fear of success, which we've talked about on the podcast before. And the reason that I fear it a little bit is because I know that with more success and potentially notoriety comes a lot of negative things. And, we always have haters no matter what we do, but I feel like the more successful and the more visible you are, the more hate you are going to get. And that's hard for me because people will bring things up that you're already like self-conscious about, and it just makes you feel really, really bad. So that's part of it for me. I just don't want to have to worry about it. And I guess I don't want affirmation of something that I already see in myself that I don't like. So that scares me a little bit. Also, I feel just kind of lost right now in the business. We sold Elementary Librarian a while back, a couple of years ago, and that still bothers me. I feel like that is something that's holding me back a little bit, is just not knowing exactly what I'm doing. And Shane and I have a lot of differences a lot of times because we do both own this business. We have very different ideas about what we should do and how we should do it. And I think sometimes that holds us back because we don't really get a solid plan. We just sort of go our own way. And then we're like, well, what are you doing? Well, I don't know. What are you doing?
And there's no third vote, right? Like there's no third vote to help us, like, in the moment, like figure things out sometimes. And, I think in the last year, especially, we've froze in those moments. Like when we are at the fork in the road and Jocelyn wants to go left and Shane wants to go right, like we both just like kind of don't hit the brake and go off road right down the middle and crash. So like it is hard. It's just really hard. It's a different dynamic. A lot of the people that we're in masterminds with, they are solo in charge of their business and their spouse is not involved. And it's like, we have a dynamic that we have to deal with that I don't think anyone else really understands unless you're working with your spouse. It's really hard, like, to get that, so we've got to figure out better ways to, like, either do both ideas or figure out a compromise or do one idea and not freeze. I think we froze, like, in the last year, and it's kind of hurt our growth a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us, too, because we are very different, but in some ways we're very similar. Like, we both like to control things. And when you have two people who want to control things, that can be a little bit difficult. So I miss having my own projects that I can control and I can do all on my own. And I haven't really had that in a while. So I'm hoping that when we start this hiring process that we can sort of,
create capacity to be able to like explore other ideas or something like that.
Yeah, and just we would have more defined roles. Right now, we sort of do everything, and we try to reach some kind of consensus together, but that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
All right, so let's talk about action steps. Let's wrap this thing up here a little bit. Jocelyn, what do you think your next steps are now that we've kind of talked about all these things and we kind of see some things, some chapters coming to an end and some other, chapters turning the page and opening up? Like what do you think your next steps are? Like not in the next 24 hours, but in the next 24 months. Like what does that look like? Like what do you think you want to do? Like what do you think, what's your vision or something you want to like explore basically?
Well, so the first thing is I'm going to continue to get well. I talked earlier about dealing with anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So I'm continuing to work on that. That's really my number one mission, is just to get well. And beyond that, I've had some ideas about wanting to expand into brick and mortar and service-based businesses, and also some ideas about maybe going on some destination type trips for our live events. And I talked about that a little bit earlier. So again, if you're interested in something like that, let us know at fliplifestyle.com/survey. So that's some of the things that are on my mind. I have a few other things also, but I'm trying to just take it one step at a time for right now.
I think that's a good tip for our listeners too. Like you don't have to know in the moment what to do next, as long as you're at least thinking about what the next step is, right? It's not always about just being so decisive that you do something. I mean, that's really where we want to go. But like, I love how you're just like wrestling with it and thinking about it and and just like trying those things. I think for me, it's like, I think what I really want to just keep working on is hiring. I've got another mastermind here at the end of August coming up, where we're meeting back. We're basically starting to meet like 2 or 3 times a year and focusing on like goals for the next mastermind. And I really want to have a good idea in my head what the team is going to look like a year from now. And I want me and you, Jocelyn, to kind of talk through that. Jocelyn's reading the book Who with me. We're going to go make these scorecards out for these employees. And, I just want to make sure that we're hiring A+, just amazing people, like world-class people to help us grow like a world-class brand. And And also just to myself, just keep growing up, keep filling my head with leadership and knowing this is where it has to go, because, we can't scale. Like, we've always envisioned Flip Lifestyle being the brand for the masses. All these people have such closed doors and they position themselves where no one can get to them. And, and like they have all this, these high-end products. And I was just listening to a guy the other day and he was like, you should never sell to the masses, screw the masses, like go find rich people with a lot of money and get some of their money. And I'm like, what a terrible thing. Like, I want to give everyone in America, every family, every person that wants to change their future an opportunity to start, build, and grow their business and change their life like we did. Like, we were working people. We were school teachers, right, in Southeast Kentucky, and we made it out of that and found a way, right? Like, I want to show people that path, and I don't want to close that off. But, I want to make sure that we have the team in place to keep Flipped Lifestyle, a lower cost membership, a place where anyone can go learn this stuff and then reach as many of those people as possible. And we're just not going to be able to do that alone. So I think for me, especially over the next 6 months, is just one, learning how to, be a leader, how to hire people. Two, doing things that we can do right now to increase revenue, to make sure we have plenty of extra revenue streams to hire these people, and then go find those people. I may actually put a question on the survey. If you are interested in even working with the Flip Lifestyle podcast and you have experience, in like retention or marketing, or we're going to be looking for a web content manager. If you love our content and you love this kind of content and you've got experience, producing this kind of content, like, I may put a couple questions on the survey, and you can just go tell us that you're interested in working with us. And when we get these job forms, ready to go, maybe you can apply for some of those jobs. So just stuff like that. I think just hiring is my number one focus for the next 6 months, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay, guys, we are going to wrap this thing up, but we would love to hear from you. I know some of you guys are out there listening, and maybe you've never interacted with us, and you think that we don't even know that you're out there listening, but we look all the time. We see people in different countries that are listening, different states, and we want to hear from you. So if you want to give us some feedback about our podcast and some other things that we're doing, head over to flippedlifestyle.com/survey. We have not even created the survey as of right now, but we will.
Well, we're going, by the time you hear this, it will be created. We're recording this a little bit early, so we're going to go make that survey as soon as we get done recording today.
So check it out and give us some feedback. We want to hear from you, and that means all of you, even you lurkers who don't want to communicate.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy, y'all. Come fill out the survey. And also, too, this is episode 300. Like, seriously, I have a question for you. Why have you not joined the Flip Your Life community, right? We are the most affordable, largest community of family-focused entrepreneurs on the planet. Guys, you need to come and check out what's going on. We have a super active community, people in there helping each other, people just like you. We literally have all the training you need to get started online. Like, we can show you how to get your idea. We can help you build your product. We can help you set up your website.
And if you've been a member before, come back. We want you back. We have people come back all the time. We welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, we have all kinds of different price points. Maybe you just need training courses right now. Maybe you just want to walk into the shallow end of the pool. Well, we have a plan for that. Maybe you want to interact with me and Jocelyn twice a month, literally live on our Q&As. They're the funnest times of the month for us because we get to hang out with dozens and dozens of you guys from all over the world inside of those Q&As so that we can help you take your next steps just like we do on our podcast. Or maybe you need additional help. Maybe you need help promoting stuff. Maybe you need help working one-on-one. Whatever it is, guys, we created this for you. That's what the Flip Your Life community is. It's not about me and Jocelyn. We've already done it. It's about you and your family's future. And sometimes I get frustrated with you guys because I know we have thousands upon thousands of people listening to us every single week, and so many of you just have never taken action. Maybe you have listened to all 300 episodes of the Flip Lifestyle podcast and you haven't done anything yet. Well, it's time. I want to challenge you here today on our 300th episode of the podcast. 5 years of doing this. If you have never taken that leap of faith, Go join today at flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife. We've got plans where you can join for as little as $19 a month. You can get coaching from us on our Q&As twice a month for $49 a month. That's our premium level membership. I highly recommend that you go try it. Give it a try. If you don't ever try it, you'll never succeed. If you don't do this now, then when will you ever do it? Guys, it's time to take action and go out there and check out all the things that we have for you inside of the Flip Your Life community. So go to flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife and join today. Draw a line in the sand. Let's make it happen. We'll help you do it together. All right, guys, that wraps up episode 300. It has been an amazing ride for 5 years doing this podcast. We commit to you that we will be here for you every single week, helping people from the Flip Your Life community change their lives, helping you by letting you listen in to those calls. And we've got a lot of great plans, a lot of surprises for you coming up on the Flipped Lifestyle podcast. We want to make sure we're bringing you the best content and giving you and your family the best chance at a better future. So thank you so much for listening. We are so grateful and so thankful for all the people that send us messages, follow us on social media, and join our community and listen every single week. And we want to be here for another 300 episodes with you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, get out there, take action, join the Flip Your Life community, get started today, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you next time.
Bye.